So my name is Chummy, and thank you, Rashid, for introducing me. From Google Garage. For those that aren't aware of Google Garage, have a look at it, the website. Loads of resources, loads of information, loads of bits and pieces of advice too. You could look up, for example, search engine optimization through to letter writing skills in terms of CVs, which is probably not so appropriate for yourselves, but you might know other people that can benefit from that. Also, it's a modular course that you can follow, and if you want to, at the end of it, get an absolutely free certificate from Google for yourselves to keep. So that's the kind of initiative that Google's got for us, people like myself, to come out and talk to yourselves and impart some knowledge. But I like to have a two-way process if I can, even though this room's a bit big. You've already done the trick for me by finding out who's got social, so nearly everybody here is pretty active on social. So I'll skip that part of it. I'm going to also say things like, if you want to take some pictures of the slides, you're more than welcome to. But if you want to, at the very end, I'll provide a URL, a link to all the slides. So if you just want to listen and take part, you can do that, or you can interact with the screen as you wish. A little bit of history about myself, I suppose. The spooky thing is, when I got the title for this event, I thought, hold on a minute. I ran my own company, MD of a company, and it was called Startup Internet. But that was many, many, many years ago. So if you want to ask questions right at the end, if you have enough time, we'll go through that. So let's kick this off to grab your attention, keep you interested, and that kind of thing. What would you call this? Oh, I'm glad I've got some people answering. Oh, I was scared for a second. Smartphone. What other names would you give that device? Expensive. Expensive? Good. Yeah. Good. Beg your pardon? Dies too quickly, yeah, that could be a issue. Did somebody shout something? Okay. Margins. Sorry? Good margins. Good margins, as in sales margins. You're trying to put me off, aren't you? How about this one? How about this one? You've been reading my notes. A remote control for life. Now, once you get over the kind of, oh, that sounds a bit silly or something, but imagine every single thing you do, you already asked whether you've been on social today. You're probably on some kind of map to get here this morning. You're connected all the time, perhaps to even the stuff at your home, your light bulbs, blah, 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 that kind of thing. So just like to keep that in mind. Be mindful of that as we talk through this presentation. So, are you ready for it, everybody? We'll start talking about the use of social media for business purposes, and then we'll go through things like how you grow your business with social, and then we'll think about strategy and measurement of strategy, and I'll ask you what do you think success is and what measurements are, that kind of philosophical question, hopefully leading to a practical answer, and then we'll go through some best practices that also includes some tools to allow you to manipulate graphics, video, and that kind of stuff. So, what do I mean by growing a company? You're presumably all on the entrepreneurial track here, and since this is called a startup show, you're starting up your business. What is growing the company to you? What does grow mean? The quicker? Say again? So, finding customers, okay? So growing means finding customers. I'm just asking questions. No rights, wrongs. Anybody from this side? Could have a competition, like a pantomime. So, income. Okay, so more customers, income, that kind of thing. Right. How do you do that? So you've got your business plan, and you've got some kind of idea of how to sell, market your products. Now, we've already said how interconnected we are and how this is a remote control for life. My friend over there has spoken a lot about statistics. I'm more interested in this context, the magnitude, the size of it, and whether it's going up or down. And if you consider that, who didn't use their phone this morning to find some piece of information? Oh, I'm going to give you a certificate.
I did use a computer last night.
Okay.
Kind of mistake because they're not smart.
Okay.
So same difference.
Yeah. But in essence, we're talking about usage of the internet on your phone and being connected much, much more incorporated into life as a normal thing. Right. You talked about generating sales. We could, of course, have new audiences, opportunities, and target new customers. Let me put this to you. What's a digital community? A digital community.
People on the other end of the device.
That's a good one, yeah?
LinkedIn groups.
LinkedIn groups, okay. Think of it, all right, there's no wrong answers, all right answers.
A smartphone.
Anyone that's using a smartphone?
Information sharing.
Yeah. Also, think of a digital community as a community that forms together for a particular interest to make things happen. And that's very fluid. And if your finger is not on the pulse of social media, you might be missing out on some sales. For example, the classical examples that are used most often, Uber and Airbnb. You had a company that had a vision, a technological vision. And then you had people who had cars. You had people who had to get somewhere. And through some infrastructure and some clever coding, you've got the community to get together. So as your business grows and as your business transforms itself, be aware that your community could change. And this is the digital community. Can you see that white and yellow? Sometimes there's an issue with the white writing on yellow. But of course, you can add value to your brand. And by value, I mean things like the service, the conversations, and the building of community. Now, consider your website, or certainly your social media presence. Should it be one way? Should I just be giving out information? What should I be doing? It's a two-way process where you receive information too. And again, if you keep your finger on your pulse, you can create new opportunities, be aware of new things, and of course, you've got your feedback coming through that you need to react quickly. I think the word complaints went out in the 1970s, customer service. Right. Now, we're going to talk about the marketing of your projects, in essence, a little bit later on. But in essence, beyond getting noticed and attracting new people and gaining some insights onto new communities, perfect opportunity, just making sure that my shadow isn't on the back of the screen, perfect opportunity for you to find out what your competitors are doing too. Because your competitors are using a lot of, or imparting a lot of knowledge, information about themselves on their sites. So don't forget, it's market intelligence for free. Right, so a couple of things that whilst you're thinking about creating your widget or your service and marketing yourselves and selling yourself, you've got so many things on your mind whilst you're going on this path of the startup that you're on. So think about what is driving people to either your website or your social media sites. Is it organic? Has it been paid for? Which we'll go through in detail later. And then think about, do I really need to keep it updated every minute, every hour, every evening, according to some presidents? That kind of thing. And who should you follow in terms of an influential person, somebody who's a mover and shaker that you can either comment on or get information about that you can incorporate into your own business plans. And lastly, what do I mean about the word engage? What is engagement with your customers? Oh, you lot are shy.
Looking for feedback.
Yeah. In essence, you're trying to form a relationship. So you want it to become a more personal experience each time, especially using social media. And as hopefully your teams grow, you'll have more dedicated people working on your projects. I pause there for a second because do you know what the average attention span, digital attention span is? And you can, I'm sure my friend here has loads of statistics, but have a stab in the dark. Well, it's not dark yet until the video comes on, but what's the kind of attention span that people have these days when you're dealing with digital computers? 20 seconds? 16? 16 seconds? I feel like Brucey now. Higher, higher, lower. Okay. 1 hour. 3, 8. Those are the big numbers that's been bandied around. 3 seconds or 8 seconds. And there's academic research has been done on our students that come down to milliseconds because people know what they're looking for. If they don't find it, they move on. People don't surf anymore. People go looking for finding things and they find it. So in essence, Make sure that when you do post, it's got to be succinct, it's got to be meaningful, it's got to engage, and more importantly, it's got to grab that person's attention. And that's why I started off with my telephone, because I've got your attention now, I've got to try to maintain it. And that's the hard part, by keeping things updated, refreshed, and new information each time. And bearing in mind that some of the things that are available, the channels that we'll talk about, if you pay for it, you get a different service than if it was just free. For example, advertising on Facebook. Right. What does success mean to you? Ooh, is it Thursday or Friday? It's a philosophical question. What is success?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Okay. Some people define it as you set yourself a target, an objective, you get there because you've achieved it, that's success. Boom. I'd like you to think of social media, and especially digital, as something that's very fluid, that moves around all the time. If you don't keep your finger on the pulse, you might be missing a trick, either underestimating or overestimating it. So what I'd like to suggest as we go through the measurements of success is that you obviously need to have some kind of statistics, metrics to measure what you're doing. You can't just say, well, I think I'll do this today. But however, think about the journey, the fulfillment part of that as a learning process. So you might have set yourself as 10 being the success criteria. You might have got 10 within the first 2 days. You might not get 10. So if you don't keep an idea, if you don't keep a finger on the pulse and evaluate, and through systems like analytics, work out what's happening within your campaigns, you can't react fast enough. If lots of businesses come in your way, you've got to find out why they're coming, what you can do to exploit it, and how you can grab them to stay with you longer. If things aren't happening, you've got to work out why your message isn't going through. So we'll break this down as a kind of a strategic step, and I'll talk about each one of these in detail. So let's define kind of the audience. Since we're here on a Thursday morning, get the basics over and done with. Business goals, what is that you're after, the social platforms you could be using, and the tone of your voice. And we'll talk about that too. And then come back to what I started off with, which is, what is success? Is there anything there on that screen that you disagree with? In essence, I think if you're in a business and you've started your business and you've got your idea, you've got an idea of the audience that you're trying to attract. But I'd like you to also be mindful of the audiences that you don't know that exist. That's the most important thing about the audience part. So whilst you're going through my demographic is this, I'll go for, just be mindful that a new group, a new community could be popping up because of something else that's happened outside of your sphere. Right, so a couple of things that you can use social media for. And that is, for example, to give better customer service, to create awareness of your brand, especially when it's new, when you're trying to penetrate the market. You could be including mechanisms to generate sales. And of course, the most important thing is, ultimately, it helps with search engine optimization too. Get people to come back to your website too, and from your website to your social media, generate more traffic. So, do you want to be comic or relaxed like I am right now, or do you want to be serious and say, this is this and that is that? Well, I think it's up to you and the brand image and the brand essence that you are trying to develop for yourself. The most important thing is, because it's digital, you can be fluid, like I said. You can test it, you can find out what's happening, you can use the analytical data to adjust it or dump that one and start something fresh. But the important thing is the branding should be congruent. That's the same throughout the process. Don't keep on changing the logo, but that's obvious. Depending on what kind of size of organization that you may have or are involved with, or you might want to set it up yourself, you may have some brand guidelines. That's to say, especially if you're hiring staff, to say, these are the things that we want to say about our brand, these are things that are acceptable, these are things that you shouldn't be saying. So you establish some kind of rules or roles and responsibilities about what you can communicate. Again, the use of your logo, you might want to have one logo congruent throughout the whole campaign. You might want little mini express logos for certain campaigns. The the style and images, that's, I suppose, relative to how much time you've spent or what kind of other agencies you've had to influence your marketing. And that we can go into discussion a little bit later on if you want to. But the most important things are the do's and the don'ts. Establish who's going to be writing those posts and what they shouldn't be saying. Because what seems really, really clever at 2 o'clock in the morning with a bit of something fluid isn't so clever in the morning once you reviewed it. As I said, when I used to run my own website design agency, things were really clever. We were getting really creative. But the one thing that we always said is, we're not going to publish that until the morning, or whenever the morning was. Right, so think about the fact, do you want it friendly, or do you want to raise attention to some cause that you're, or product that you're dealing with? Some of the people here could be dealing with something quite serious, and you may have to adopt that tone. Others may want to take a more kind of, let's see what the community is like and feed off them. And then, as I said, whoa. And then the most important thing is, it really depends on your target audience, whether to be casual or formal. I'll err on the side of formality first, but then you want to show a personality too. But that's your call, and that's dependent on your business. Right. We talked about defining success, okay? So help me out here, people. Those that have a Facebook platform, account, page, how important is it for those? Just this is an example of success. Just at this stage, I'm trying to get you to think through the kind of ideas behind all of these topics as you formulate your own strategy. How important is, I've got 1,000 likes. Is that important? I don't know, tell me. You're going to ask, why is he up there asking me questions when I...
It can be helpful in validating your position. So if you get more likes on some posts than others, it could kind of give you a taste of what the market appreciates.
Sure. So the gentleman there was saying it gives you kind of a process of validating how many people are engaging with you, how they like what you're doing, that kind of things. Yeah.
Depends on whether they're bots or not.
Depends on whether they're bought or not, yeah, if they're being paid for.
Robots.
Oh, robots, yeah, okay, automated, okay, yeah. So, all right, I've got, this is as a form of example and a success metric. I've got 1,000 people that liked whatever I said or the picture I loaded up. But I got like one phone call or one email, my call to action, that's what I got. Would you call that successful? So just wanted, again, just to be mindful that you can have 1,000, but if they're not actually doing something to engage with you, to make money for you, and those are the kind of things that you were speaking about earlier on, either traffic or money, then is that a really successful thing that you're doing? So don't just go for one dimension and think to yourself, oh, yeah, I've got loads of that. What is that leading to? If that's going to lead on to the next stage that you plan, then that's fine. So those 1,000 likes, because of that, they listen to the next article, that's good. But that's within your strategy. The most easy thing, well, the easiest thing that you can do with social, of course, is to create some kind of brand awareness as you're entering into the market. Now, how, in your opinion, would you make sure that you follow that through? Or the question I'm asking is, with brand awareness, how do you know your brand has got awareness? How do you know your brand is known? How do you know that people are aware of your new venture? That gives me a chance to have a little bit of water.
When they give you feedback.
A lot of organic search, maybe?
Yeah. But, I mean, there's no rights, no wrongs, exactly. So you've got feedback on your actual platform itself, and more vitally, if you manage to have a call to action to send them back to your website to get some more information, you could analyze that through data. Right, let's go through a couple of best practices and see what your opinions are. So, the most important thing, you're building up a personality for your brand. And as many, many books in the main library there will tell you in the marketing section, I think there must be a new digital marketing section now. But in the good old days, they used to be called marketing. Funny enough, it'll be called marketing again, not too soon. if you don't create a personality for a brand, you can't distinguish one brand from another, and you can't establish a root reason why people should buy from you. So if you're not authentic, relatable, and timely, then you're missing a point here. So authentic, you're real, you can be trusted. Something that you can relate to, there's a relationship, there's something that you have the same frequency and you can communicate. And the most important thing is timely. If your posts aren't regularly updated, if they're not regularly fed up, if you don't keep feedback within the comments regularly, you're probably doing yourself more damage than good. So if you're going to have social media, you've got to really keep your finger on the pulse. And the way I always say is dedicate a certain period of the week, say 2 hours on a Friday, 2 hours on a Monday, whatever it is, and spend that 2 hours making sure that you just check those 3 things. 3 is the magic number, and it's not just me saying it. Apart from De La Soul, there was loads of academic people. 3 is the magic number in terms of remembering things. So make sure things are kept up to date. Right, a couple of things that you can review, just to be mindful. And again, these slides are available at the end, but if you want to take some pictures, you're more than welcome to. So the classical things about keeping people aware of what's happening within the company or your product or a business as it develops. But think of also things like the seasonal variations. If you're dealing with something to do with, say, weather, if you're doing something to do with food, if you're dealing with something to do with style, and perhaps even training. Training changes throughout the year depending on what's happening, and it depends on the organization, their budgets and things like that. So you might want to be mindful of that too. How many times have you gone onto a company's website and you've seen the group hugs, I'm gonna have a group hug, and the football matches or the dog in the office? Does that work for you, or does that not work for you? Is that important to you? Is that not important to you?
It's important. It is very important. It gives you more awareness about the brand and how they operate as well.
Yeah.
I think it depends if it comes across to be authentic.
Yeah. I'm glad somebody's listening. Absolutely right. One thing it does do is that it shows you as real people in a real company, as opposed to one man, one woman band show, and it's just somebody in somebody's back room somewhere. It shows that you've got credibility. So, you know, it's not a negative thing. It's building your brand. Okay. Why? All these things are free. Why should I pay for it? And since we're running, well, actually, we've got tons of time, but I'll answer that question. Rhetorical, you see. You certainly get more analytics that you can measure your data from. And also, you get the opportunity to be higher up in the listings. You can also make money from it too. So paying for it is a very good idea at the very beginning stages, or when you've got a campaign active to make sure that people are aware of it. If you pay for it all the time, I'm not quite sure what the benefit there is unless you've got some strategy worked out. But certainly there are certain times of your business cycle that you need to get more rapid exposure, penetrating the market. I'll save the Twitter for when it comes to Twitter. So we'll just very quickly go through each platform and make sure we're not missing many points, because the majority of the people here, if you're using social and you put up your hands for the different platforms, you're aware of it. But let's just cover the basics too. So apart from one guy that I know very well that tweets a lot, who here uses Twitter as a business communication tool, the micro-blogging platform called Twitter? I'm sure you're familiar with it. How active do you keep it? As in, this kind of, do you do it every day? The question I'm asking is, have you got a schedule, or do you just respond when you need to?
Schedule, like once a week. That's the aim.
Yeah.
I know that's not good enough.
No. But it's just a thinking process. You know, at this stage, we're not thinking about right, wrong, or being judgmental. It's just that you need to be aware of the fact that you need to have some kind of timeline and be aware that that's a rapidly moving forum. The important things like pinned tweets, those are the tweets that are right at the top of your page, and other things like hashtags. Again, it's only because we're here and no other reason, well, many reasons. Just a brief explanation of a hashtag for those that may not, or somebody asks them to define what a hashtag is. It's basically like you're in the room and you put your hand up saying, it's me, it's me. It's a chance for other people to know where you are and for you to communicate with you. And of course, an excellent quick way of getting some polls and information, just interactivity again. Right, our friend, the Facebook. Important thing about Facebook is, as obvious as it sounds, and if it was that obvious, I wouldn't be saying it, keep your personal Facebook different to your business Facebook. And be aware of your digital footprint. So if you are selling something, marketing something on a serious level, but your social, your personal Facebook is way, it might not be giving the right message. So make sure your business Facebook is different. What do I mean by call to action? Yeah. In essence, if you expand that, a call to action is a marketing phrase that means basically to get the visitor, whoever's interacting with you, trigger them to do something. It could be to call, it could be to send an email, it could be to buy something. So call to action is something that you want them to do. And if you've gone and invested some time and money, more money than time hopefully, then you want them to interact with you. And video is a massive thing, and we'll talk about video editing, some free, easy video editing tools a little bit later on. Who uses Instagram here? Oh, okay. Is it working? Very visual platform. The one thing to notice about Instagram is go easy, as it says there on the hashtags. Because you quite easily could have tons and tons, and nobody's going to be engaging with you on that front. But certainly it's now, I think youngsters, I am down with the youngsters, but they're using it more for instant messaging too. Who's got a LinkedIn profile for themselves? Who's got a LinkedIn profile for business, their business? You might want to consider having an LinkedIn profile for your business too, because more and more, depending on what you're selling, what your services are, more and more sales, the business-to-business sales, the inquiries are made through LinkedIn. So the days when, I remember we were talking about it actually a couple of days ago, those big directories that you used to get, they're not so widely used and haven't been used for a long time. And now, from a procurement officer in a company to somebody that wants some service, they are more likely to look up LinkedIn to get that service. So think about a business page on LinkedIn for your company. How is it, unless somebody here is a video expert and the lads there in the background with the cameras, how easy is it to make a video these days? Easy, it's easy. Back to my remote control for life. This is a really, really powerful tool, and mine's an old phone. I'm an old man. You could put together a lot of easy video, and there's enough freely available software that enables you to put graphics on and to edit. And that is so powerful, video, both in terms of your website as well as on social. And you get so much information across. Simple rules, of course, keep it short and simple, make it impactful, make it relevant, all those things. But the important thing is that with a little bit of text and animation, you just become so much more polished. And apart from anything else, guess where the next biggest search is done on? Probably more now, YouTube. And this is not just for why are people into cats rolling around with a ball of it's instructional videos, both for fixing things. I fixed a washing machine by watching 2 videos. And then I spent the money I saved on something. But also as a learning management system, as a tool, more and more corporates are using the business version of YouTube to allow people to create their own learning programs. So I want to go on a motivational speech course, I can look it up and learn myself. So if you're in the trade of consulting, you might want to give some of your information away to get business back. Hopefully this will kick off in a minute. It's only a couple of minutes a long video, and then once it's done that, I'll ask a couple of questions.
I'm Tricia Casden and I'm founder and managing director of Look Fabulous Forever. I founded the company in October 2013 and we make makeup which is specifically formulated for older eyes, faces and lips. I was semi-retired and I kept thinking, do you know what, I would really love to start a company which was around makeup, and I felt there was a gap in the market because the traditional beauty industry really doesn't take much notice of older women. I made video tutorials and put them onto YouTube as an experiment. Initially I thought older women don't watch videos on YouTube, and how wrong was I? We suddenly started to get 1,000 views a day, sometimes more than that, and our business just took off. In the first month of this year, we've had 17,000 visitors to our website, 1,000% increase in the same period last year. We've had orders from as far afield as Hawaii, Alaska and Saudi Arabia, and seeing women go from looking quite ordinary to being really beautiful is just incredibly satisfying, and I love it.
That's a good success story, isn't it? Do you see what I mean about the measurement of success? She didn't know about the business opportunity until she went live with it, but she was adapting to what she found, the new opportunity. So my question to you is, it was on the video. How did she know this information? Sorry? She probably did, yeah. Have you got her details? Could you? Certainly, yeah.
Maybe she was just picking up on what she was actually finding from her business network from her previous job and her friends.
But how did she know that particular, her business? Her business. Okay.
No, because there's loads of MUAs on YouTube. There's so
Okay.
many makeup artists
Uh-huh.
using that platform. People were subscribing and clicking.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking now about the analytics side, the data analysis. Once she starts realizing that she's getting customers that she wasn't aware of from locations that she didn't even consider, then you can start making strategic decisions and choices from that. Yeah.
Because she probably hasn't advertised in Alaska and Saudi Arabia and so on. The only way those people would have known about her is through her YouTube channel.
Yeah, and as you said, but if she wasn't keeping a thing on the pulse, she'd be still marketing to a smaller audience. So that's the most important thing. The fact that you can do all this, but as a measure of success, as a measure of where you want to go, keep it fluid, make sure that you're getting the right data in. Sometimes you can have too much data and don't make any decisions from it, so you need to be mindful of that too. But quite clearly, a live... I'll just wait for the next slide. Could we have the next slide, please? Oh, yeah. That one. Okay, Snapchat. My favorite question. Who uses Snapchat here, people? You must be young. I've been told only youngsters use it. I'm not trying to be offensive at all. My son's 13 and all the group below him are using Snapchat, but Snapchat as a marketing tool, I've not heard many examples of that working, but quite clearly what Snapchat does have is geo-filters. So where you are, depending on where you are, you get promotional filters that as a business you can pay to appear. So for example, if you've got a huge ice cream factory or ice cream shop and you're in that area, that will appear on the Snapchat platform. But yeah, it seems to be a more youth, as in not the age group here. And I'm not being insulting either. Okay, a couple of, as we kind of wrap this up, and then I'll leave some space for some questions. Canva, quite a powerful design app, and you can do bits and pieces on it, and it's free. And if you want me to, like I said, got a link for these right at the end. Visco, again, image editing app. I've not used that a lot, but the little experience I've got it, and it's good. I mean, you're saving yourself lots of money as opposed to buying something proprietary. And then, what is happening? What's happening? I think we've already spoken about bots before, but video is certainly a huge thing. That's a massive thing in both your website as well as your social media. And it's relatively easy to do, but at the same time, balance it so you don't go too over the top. Incidentally, the difference between artificial intelligence that run bots and machine learning, is anybody here who's going to have a go? So machine learning is when you've got a machine that programs itself without human interaction, whereas artificial intelligence, human gets involved and it learns from a certain pattern. So if you've got all these things that are happening, for example, when you get on to buying, I don't know, a telephone, a mobile telephone contract. Hello, my name is so-and-so, how can I help you? And that hello is often automated. So these things are going to come online on social media, and you're going to have applications that you can program in to ask certain questions and get certain responses. Right. So very, very quickly, just summing up, as this is a very quick talk, set yourself some goals that you have decided that is appropriate to start off with, but make sure those goals aren't so fixed that you just think about that and not what's happening around you, both your competition and your environment around you. And then think about how you want your brand to be perceived. It's your customers that matter, not what you matter, what matters to you. You might have the prettiest website or social media page that you consider to be the best ever, but if your customers aren't buying it, so think about your customers. And choose the platforms. Each platform has its advantages, and some are better than others for the reasons that are appropriate to your business. So, just to quickly summarize the bits and pieces that I started off at the beginning, tons of resources there, and I encourage people to get onto the Digital Garage website and have a look around. There's these events that are happening throughout the country, and drop-in clinics where you can go and talk to people like myself and other trainers, coaches, and ask specific questions directed to your business. And the most important thing is you can get a certificate too, if you should want one. So for me, what I found why I found that important or interesting is that it was almost like a checklist. I've got many years in the industry, but I can't remember everything all the time. And I thought, oh yeah, and that just helps you to improve. So as promised, these are the details of all the slides and other addresses. And I think I've got a couple of minutes or?
We've got an additional speaker, so I'm going to take just one.
Okie dokie.
We've got one very quick question. We will take it. And there's lots of social media pictures going on, which is good. Got room for one very quick question? Any questions? Going at one question. Aha, very quick question here.
Okay. I'm wanting to start an app, but I find that there isn't a directory of trustworthy people depending on the budget. Like before, you'd have a directory of plumbers, of your local doctors, or even I came here yesterday. I said, can you give me a list of people I can contact, trust, per se, on budget? And
so what's your question?
So my question is, like a directory of trustworthy people to be also produced digitally.
Okay. I don't know if it's specific to you, but coming back to kind of the general way of how do you trust anybody, it's what Amazon were so brilliant at, the reviewing the rating system. So if you've got somebody like 1,000, like buying a watch, a shirt, whatever, if you've got 1,000 people that use that, say, freelancer or that company, then you've got some kind of idea that they're quite good. Afterwards, if you just give me a second, I'll give you a do-it-yourself app that you can make apps from, if you know what I mean. But just if nothing else, so that you can explain to other people. But is there anybody else that's aware of a directory for digital people? It's like, I suppose, how do you find a plumber or a chef It depended.
That's a wonderful moment, in fact, to encourage you to network over the break, because that sharing is powerful. And Chami, thank you so much. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
being so generous with that insight, that knowledge. Thank you so much.